It's Friday, October 1st, and time for your Barbados Today morning news update. Two workers of the Lionel C. Hill Supermarket and Hill Milling Company Limited Group are facing the possibility of being terminated unless they provide proof of COVID-19 vaccination by this weekend's payday. The warning was issued by the company's Chief Executive Officer, Richard Ashby, following a reminder via memo to staff of Thursday's deadline for all employees to be vaccinated in order to retain their jobs. Emmanuel Joseph has that report.
Ashby revealed that of the 98 workers employed by the businesses, only 2 had not complied with his instructions.
From July, I gave letters. August, I reminded. September, I reminded. And this is the date that was set, 30th September, all the way back from in July. Get vaccinated or else you don't come to work.
In seeking to justify his decision to require workers to be immunized or be sent home, Ashby contended that he has a duty to secure the safety of his staff.
I have to secure all the assets in here safe. The only way we can do is to have some kind of protection. Not 100%, but at least 50% protection. You know?
Right. So this is...
So all the school children that is home sitting down because these people will not go and get vaccinated, they got them home sitting down. They have a mind for their children that they're gonna their country's children is at home, can't go to school because they won't go and get vaccinated. You think that's right?
Chief Executive Officer of the Hill Milling Company Limited and Lionel C. Hill Supermarket, Richard Ashby. I'm Emmanuel Joseph for Barbados Today.
A probe is on the way into Thursday's COVID-19 related death of a fully vaccinated female. Word of this from the country's Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Kenneth George. Here is Emmanuel Joseph again with the details.
Responding in the wake of the death on Thursday morning of a fully vaccinated 67-year-old woman with comorbidities, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Kenneth George said, "Death is an unfortunate course in life." However, Dr. George said an investigation was being carried out to get to the bottom of why the woman passed away, although she was completely vaccinated.
We have told the public that vaccines offer the best protection for persons against COVID. We never told the public that vaccines will provide complete protection. The unfortunate incident, the elderly or the middle-aged lady who died, she had comorbidities. I do not know what the results of our final investigations will show. But you will have people who are vaccinated and unvaccinated die at some point in time. What we're trying to prevent is premature death.
Dr. George also weighed in on the record 7 COVID-related deaths in the past 2 days.
We remain extremely concerned. Persons are coming in very ill, and once they come in hypoxic, their prognosis tends to be not good. We will continue to tell Barbadians that their best hope with respect to combating COVID, particularly at this time of high spread, is to follow the protocols and make sure that you take good public health guidance and be vaccinated.
That was Chief Medical Officer Dr. Kenneth George, and I'm Emmanuel Joseph for Barbados Today.
In other news, public service vehicle owners say they intend to resist any efforts by government to further limit the number of passengers they can transport. This despite a rise in COVID-19 infections in the country, hospitalization and deaths linked to the highly contagious Delta variant. Mark Haynes of the Alliance Owners of Public Transport said he does not believe that there is a need or logical reason to reduce the PSV's 75% capacity. In fact, he suggested that PSV operators are actually hoping that a number would be increased to at least 80% capacity.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To news from the region, Guyana gets set to receive an additional 100,000 doses of the Pfizer vaccine to help in its fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. Gordon Mosley of News Source Guyana has more.
Guyana received over 140,000 doses of the vaccine from the U.S. government last month, and it's currently being used to vaccinate children between the ages of 12 and 17 years old. The vaccines that will arrive next week will be added to the other vaccines currently being used to vaccinate adults. According to the Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, the government's plan is to still get more persons vaccinated so that the country could reach herd immunity and be more protected against COVID-19.
And we have 192,672 persons who would have received a second dose vaccine. So we now move up to 37.6% of our adult population receiving both doses of the vaccine. And overall, we have given 24,194 doses of the Pfizer vaccine to children. That takes us up to 33.2% of that age cohort.
The health ministry is closely monitoring the rising cases in a number of hotspot areas, especially in regions 3 and 4. Meanwhile, the number of new cases of the virus continues to climb. Another 189 new cases were recorded yesterday, with 3 additional deaths recorded overnight. All 3 persons were unvaccinated, according to the Ministry of Health.
And finally, on the international scene, another federal shutdown has been averted after U.S. President Joe Biden signed into law a temporary measure to keep his government funded until early December. More from Reuters TV.
On this vote, the yeas are 65, the nays are 35. The 60-vote threshold having been achieved, the bill is passed. Congress voted to avoid a partial government shutdown on Thursday with just hours to go before a midnight deadline, approving a stopgap bill to fund federal operations through early December. But while one potential fiscal crisis was averted, Democrats quickly turned their attention to a much more consequential one, raising the nation's debt limit. On Thursday, Democratic Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer criticized the Republicans in the chamber, who multiple times this week blocked a bid by Democrats to prevent a potentially crippling U.S. credit default.
Once again, just as our Republican colleagues realize that a government shutdown would be catastrophic, they should realize that a default on the national debt would be even worse. Despite Republican intransigence, the facts have not changed. We must raise the debt ceiling. We cannot allow America to default.
Schumer said that a vote to raise the debt ceiling could come as early as next week. On Wednesday, the Democratically controlled House of Representatives approved a measure to raise it through the end of 2022.
We are proceeding.
Meanwhile, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi faced a revolt from progressive Democrats who pushed back against President Joe Biden's $1 trillion infrastructure plan until a larger $3.5 trillion domestic investment bill is nailed down.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.